Give his own press conference.
Yeah, just the kind I like.
Take up 2 spaces.
Well, we'll go ahead and start if everybody's in. We want to thank you for showing up. And as the House Democratic Caucus and leadership of the House Democratic Caucus, we thought it was important to sort of share our viewpoint as we're going into concluding the budget. I know that you guys oftentimes focus on the speaker when we're done, so I thought maybe if we could do this beforehand, we wouldn't have to worry about that. But as you probably already predicted, most of us are opposed to this budget in the form that we're passing it out. When we started this process at the beginning of the year, was our hope as Democratic Caucus that we would be able to support the budget. And we actually worked very hard to sort that out and try to work with the majority in order to do that. We weren't trying to be unreasonable. We focused on 3 major areas: taxes, education, and Medicaid. And basically, we wanted to have a budget that represented opportunity for folks and invested in the right things to grow economic development in the state of Ohio and give people a chance to move up. And so, budgets are an opportunity for us to create a document that will empower people. Budgets start out with a baseline of things in them, and what we really deal with from session to session is an opportunity to make changes that improve situations for people. And by the time we got to the end of this thing, those areas that we cared a lot about just didn't seem to make a lot of sense for average folks that were working hard every day and trying to move up. As you guys know, the wealthy in Ohio and America have been doing really well for quite some time. It's poor people and middle-class folks that are struggling, and wages have been stagnant for workers. Productivity has been the highest in American history. This tax policy, or at least the amount that remains, and I think our finance folks did a very good job in working to remove some really damaging tax policy. But there still remains some tax policy that shifts the tax responsibility from the most affluent to the least affluent. There's a policy in here that is, it violates even conservative tax policy institute principles. Basically, you don't raise taxes on one group of people to pay for a tax cut for another group of people. And when you raise cigarette taxes to pay for an income tax cut for people who are already doing well, it violates even what conservatives think that you should do with regard to tax policy. Education is probably one of the biggest things for me. I'll let some of the other members of leadership talk about what they cared about. But you guys know I've been around for 18 years. I came on staff right when the welfare system came out. And I've watched for 18 years us kick the can down the road when solving that issue. So we criticized a lot of other people, but we still haven't funded education properly. We still have a charter school system that is unaccountable, untransparent with regard to what we're doing with taxpayer dollars. There's a national criticism of that. The state auditor, the Republican state auditor, has made recommendations of ways to fix that, and quite frankly, even some conservatives around here in the legislature have moved in that direction. That kind of accountability still does not exist in the budget, and that's where it should be, because that's where the spending occurs. And so I'm really disappointed in the fact that we still haven't really made a major effort to fulfill what the Supreme Court said with regard to funding education. And I'm very disappointed because we had an opportunity. To do something about making charter schools more accountable and transparent. A failing charter school should not be an acceptable response to a struggling traditional school. We just have to do better. There is an opportunity cost involved in us not fixing some of the things, that we've left broken. So I'm going to stop there and see if any of the other members of leadership would like to.
Just briefly, as we mentioned yesterday, we really appreciate the work the conference committee did in watering down some of the language that with the attacks on organized labor. We think that obviously the budget that we'll pass today is much better than in regards to organized labor attacks than when it left the House. However, the attacks are still there and they're still ever present. This is still a budget that rewards special interest groups, and it does not protect the working Ohioans that we so desperately want to fight for, and we desperately so hard fight for us, especially the home health care workers, as we highlighted yesterday, take care of our most Ohioans in most need, and yet this budget does nothing to help protect them. So from that perspective, this is still a budget that attacks organized labor rights. It's still a budget that we think is going to lead to the slippery slope of more attacks against organized labor rights, and for that reason, as well as the reasons that the leaders highlighted, I cannot support this budget at this point.
And as far as the health policy goes, so we're relieved, I guess is the word, to see that the Medicaid expansion will continue. We're very happy with the Supreme Court decision yesterday, because what that means is that those hardworking Ohioans that have multiple jobs will be able to access health care. That's a good thing. However, in this budget, the problematic point is that there are still barriers that will prevent all of those people and some other folks from being able to sign on, being able to continue. And that's a problem, because if we know that the consistency of people accessing health care is how they stay healthy. And so there are still many problems in this budget. The other major healthcare concern that I and some of my colleagues in our caucus are deeply concerned about is the barriers that have been put up for women's access to reproductive health care, comprehensive reproductive health care. The reasons, we know that it was politically motivated. We saw some other elements come back in. This is a problem. The majority of Ohioans, the majority of people across this country believe in the constitutional rights that all of us have. Ohio continues, through this budget, we've continued to restrict access for women and their families. Legislature getting in front of family private decisions when we should be focusing on more dollars to really increase and improve our infant mortality rate, lower the rate, increase the health benefits for families. And so that was a disappointment. It's something that we're going to have to continue to work on. I was hopeful at the beginning because the rhetoric, the language was there, that we were really going to address it in this budget. I'm very disappointed. Cannot support the budget because of some of those health policy issues.
I guess I'll just say, I think everyone's pretty much laid it out. The only other area that I'd add maybe is this, the idea of tax shifting, and they're going to initiate a study that will look at phasing out the income tax into a flat tax rate, and I take great issue with that. And what we ought to be doing is looking at how we can strengthen Ohio's working families, putting more money into their pockets. And what I would have liked to see us do is evaluate what this term of what is a bare essential, where we don't tax food and water and prescription medicine. And I would like, if we're going to study taxes, let's look at ways that it can really impact families, really close the gender gaps on so many different levels. And we're not doing that. This is a time where we should be adding things into what's essential tax, thus not taxing, sales taxing things like clothes and shoes and over-the-counter medicines, and to name just a few things that we ought to be having a serious conversation. Instead, we want to look at ways that we can level what is the playing field to some folks' eyes of those who make a lot of money to those who don't make much money at all. And that's just unfair. And for all those reasons and that, I'll definitely be voting no.
And just to wrap up, so I think what we're hearing and what we're saying is that the budget lacks vision. It's a budget. It's a visionary document. This is a list of priorities. It's the way we get to where we want to go. They took out the Bob Taft budget, blew the dust off, and here it is. Here's our budget. That's not visionary. It's not new. It's not exciting. It doesn't help the folks in Ohio. It creates a situation where we've got this failed tax policy that we've initiated since 2005 and before. Says cut the taxes for the most wealthy. Do not target that for the middle class. And let's see what happens. We know what happens. We know what's going to happen with this budget. We've already been there, right? It's not going to create economic growth for the middle class. It's going to primarily benefit the wealthiest in the state, and that's not our vision for the state. Our vision is for the majority of the people in the state, and we want to see policies that reflect that vision. And it's tired. This budget is tired. It's talking point tax policy in here. It doesn't fund education as it should. There are barriers for folks on Medicaid. Takes another swipe at local government funds for basic services in the communities. It really lacks vision. And so we're disappointed that we had an opportunity here, the governor had an opportunity, we as a General Assembly had an opportunity to create something that really was meaningful and that would really help the majority of the citizens in the state. And this budget fails that test, and so we're voting against it.